In an ITU meeting in Warsaw last December 2017, the senior expert for EMF and health at Ericsson Research, in a presentation titled Impact of EMF Limits on 5G Network and Rollout, expressed concerns about how the small cell transmitters can be placed in the environment. Why is this significant? We all know of the importance of Ericsson in the telecommunication world. Who is the International Telecommunications Union, or ITU? It is not a union in the sense of a labor union. It is a UN specialized agency with a specific mandate, as their website states. We allocate global radio spectrum and satellite orbits, develop the technical standards that ensure networks and technology seamlessly interconnect, and strive to improve access to ICTs to underserved communities worldwide. Their reach is larger than that statement indicates. They are in effect the governing body and standard approving body for all things in the telecom world today. The conclusion of the presentation is all one really needs to know about their presentation. EMF compliance may be a challenge for 5G massive multiple input, multiple output sites if assuming theoretical maximum power for all beams is used. He goes on to note that in any country that follows the ICNIRP standards, which despite him saying are science-based, are very much not science-based, more based on the economic needs of the telecom industry. The deployment of 5G will be a major problem in countries where the limits are at levels more appropriate to not cause biological harm. On the slide titled EMF Challenges for 5G, potentially higher EIRP and large EMF compliance boundaries, exclusion zones, than for conventional antennas if theoretical maximum power is used for all beams. EIRP means effective isotropic rated power. Don't worry about the fancy words. Think in terms of the units will be radiating more power. Large EMF compliance boundaries, apart from more power than multiple input, multiple output antennas, and many transmitters in close proximity all create a much more complex environment to determine where peaks and valleys of radiation will occur. These lead to another point on the slide. International EMF limits are more conservative in the near field, which may lead to larger compliance distances for small cell base stations. Says a lot more than some may think on first reading. Radiation in the near field is recognized to be much more chaotic and difficult to measure and understand than in the far field, where the well-known inverse square law applies. In the near field, a number of authorities and other industry recognized experts advise multiplying the power of value by 4. The factor of 4 is important to note when one looks at some of the other slides. Some industry sections, Dr. Robert Kane, formerly of Motorola, on page 166 of his book titled Cellular Telephone Russian Roulette, suggested that in the near field the radiation could be 100 times what is expected. Next slide. In 28 gigahertz 5G massive multiple input, multiple output small cells indicates the appropriate no-go zone around one of the Ericsson units is 1.5 meters if the inadequate ICNIRP standards are used. Also note, they did not allow for the factor of 4 multiplier to allow for peaks and valleys of radiation near their device. Next slide. 3.5 gigahertz 5G site with massive multiple input, multiple output nodes, a situation where the no-go zone is 25 meters or 80 feet. Once again, the multiplier of 4 is not accounted for. The notes at the bottom of the slide are interesting. Very large exclusive zones due to unrealistic power may lead to substantial 5G deployment challenges. Actual maximum power of 5G massive multiple input, multiple output antennas. Not only do they conveniently omit dealing with the pesky factor of 4, their measurements ignore the other half of the radiation at the site. There will be several mobile devices connected with each site, all adding their power to the equation, as well as creating a much more complex environment to determine where the spikes are and the extent of the near-field zone. Next slide. Rationale for actual maximum power use. Of course, maximum power should be used, as it is typical for power to be boosted if there are connection issues, even if the connection issues are more interference from another device. Next slide. Example, 5G site with massive multiple input, multiple output, 3 GHz, 3.5 GHz and 28 GHz. Actual maximal power. Here they use 25% as the actual maximum power, but when applies the conservative factor of 4, the so-called actual maximum power should be 100% power. Note, the exclusion zone is now 10 meters or more than 30 feet. Next slide. Impact of lower national EMF limits of 1/10 of ICNIRP limits. At the 1/10 limit, the exclusion zone jumps to 37 meters or 120 feet, and this is only when 25% of the allowable power is used. Here he notes the size of the exclusion zone makes 5G network rollout very challenging. Next slide. Impact of lower national EMF limits of 1/100th of ICNIRP limits. There is a significant body of science that shows that ICNIRP at 1/100th is still far too high. Even when the ICNIRP, the 1/100th, he notes, deployment of the units would need to be 70 meters high, that's 230 feet, and a radius of 115 meters or 378 feet away from a human accessible location. Not a surprise that he notes this scenario would make deployment impossible. Yes, there will be significant challenges to deploy the units in an effective mesh safely. Other industry experts have noted the safe zones around the units, safe zones that should be increased radically if the known science is based on what causes biological harm. Unfortunately, industry is constantly telling themselves that the new levels of radiation will do no harm. In another ITU document by Dr. Jack Rowley, Senior Director of Research and Sustainability for GSMA, Impact of 5G on Mobile Network Topology. 5G on Mobile Network Topologies, RF, EMF exposure, and antenna deployment perspective. New published evidence confirms that there are no adverse health effects deriving from exposure to radio frequency from telephone mobile antennas. Radio and television transmission and wireless signals used at work, school, or home. He kindly supplies a link to support his statement. The link leads to a page 404 error, or a page that does not exist. Is he trying to tell us there is no evidence to support his statement? Apparently he was not aware of the National Toxicology Program recent release of their findings re cell phone exposure, findings that concerned them so much they rushed the interim findings to the public before they were finished with the final report.